Have you ever wondered what you would do if faced with an impossible choice? Imagine this, and knock on your door late at night. You open it, and suddenly, you're staring down the barrel of a gun. Your family is taken, and you're told their safety depends on you cooperating with a multi-million-pound heist. This isn't a movie plot. This was the terrifying reality for Colin Dixon, the manager of the Securitas Depot in Kent, England, back in February 2006. It all started on a seemingly normal evening. Colin was driving home when he was pulled over by what he thought was an unmarked police car. The vehicle had blue lights flashing in the grille, and the man who approached him was wearing a high-visibility jacket and a police-style hat. It all looked legitimate. But the moment Colin was handcuffed and put in the back of the car, he knew something was terribly wrong. He wasn't under arrest, he was being kidnapped. Simultaneously, miles away, his wife and young son were facing their own nightmare. Men disguised as police officers knocked on their door, claiming Colin had been in a serious car accident. Once inside, they revealed their true intentions, taking the family hostage. The two separate events were part of one meticulously planned, terrifying plot. The kidnappers drove Colin to an isolated farm, where he was told the chilling truth: "You work for Securitas. We know who you are. We know where you live. Your family is safe, but only if you do exactly what we say." For Colin, there was no choice. The lives of his wife and son were on the line. The robbers then brought his family to the same location, reuniting them under the most dreadful circumstances. Surrounded by armed men, the family was held captive overnight, their fate hanging in the balance. The mastermind behind this audacious plan was a man named Lee Murray, a mixed martial artist with a reputation for a lavish lifestyle and a history of run-ins with the law. He had insider information from an employee at the depot, a man named Amir Hisani, who had secretly filmed the layout of the cash-holding facility with a hidden camera. This wasn't just a smash-and-grab, it was a calculated, military-style operation. As dawn approached, the plan was set in motion. The gang, along with Colin, drove to the Securitas Depot Winton Bridge. The depot was a fortress, a state-of-the-art facility designed to hold and manage vast amounts of cash for banks across the region. But the robbers had the ultimate key: the depot manager himself. Colin, under extreme duress, was forced to let them inside. Once through the gates, the gang, numbering at least 7 men, quickly went to work. They were disguised with masks and armed with an arsenal of weapons. They rounded up the 14 staff members who were on the night shift, tying them up and locking them in cash cages. The employees were terrified, but the robbers assured them that if they cooperated, no one would get hurt. Their target wasn't people, it was the mountains of cash stored in the depot's vault. With the staff neutralized, Colin was forced to override the security systems and open the vault. The sight that greeted the robbers was beyond their wildest dreams. Stacks upon stacks of used and new banknotes, totaling hundreds of millions of pounds. They had hit the jackpot. For the next hour, it was a frenzy of activity. They used a 7.5-ton lorry they had brought with them, loading it with as much cash as they could physically move. Cage after cage of money was hauled onto the truck. But even for a gang this organized, things didn't go perfectly. They were overwhelmed by the sheer volume of cash. They couldn't take it all. They focused on used banknotes, which were harder to trace than new, sequential bills. In their haste, they left behind over £150 million simply because they ran out of time and space. Still, when they finally drove away from the depot, they had secured a staggering £53 million. That's about $92 million at the time. It was the largest cash robbery in British history. After the robbers fled, a brave staff member managed to trigger an alarm, and the police were finally alerted. But by then, the gang had a crucial head start. The investigation that followed was one of the largest and most complex in UK history. The police were dealing with a highly organized criminal network that had vanished, seemingly into thin air, along with a lorry full of money. The first major breakthrough came quickly. The police found the gang's abandoned vehicles, including the white lorry, a van, and several cars, at various locations. A crucial discovery was made at a farm linked to one of the gang members. Buried under a mountain of evidence, they found weapons, masks, and, most importantly, some of the stolen cash. The robbers had made a critical error. In their rush to count and divide the loot, they had been careless. Forensic teams went to work, and the evidence began to pile up. DNA was found on the masks, fingerprints on the cash cages, and mobile phone records pieced together the gang's movements and communications. The inside man, Amir Hisani, was quickly identified and arrested. His cooperation was key to unraveling the conspiracy. One by one, members of the gang were tracked down. Lee Mari, the charismatic ringleader, managed to flee the country with his accomplice, Paul Allen. They escaped to Morocco, a country that, at the time, didn't have an extradition treaty with the UK for its own citizens. Mari, whose father was Moroccan, believed he was safe. He lived a life of luxury, spending the stolen money on lavish villas, expensive cars, and extravagant parties. But his freedom was short-lived. The British and Moroccan authorities worked together. Mari was eventually arrested in Rabat, not for the heist, but for a local drug offense. While in a Moroccan prison, he was tried for his role in the Securitas robbery. In 2010, he was sentenced to 10 years in prison, which was later increased to 25 years on appeal. Other key members of the gang, including several cage fighters from Murray's circle, were also tried and convicted in the UK, receiving long prison sentences. So, what happened to the money? Of the £53 million stolen, only about £21 million was ever recovered. The remaining £32 million is still missing, believed to have been laundered through complex international schemes or buried in locations that remain secret to this day. It's a staggering amount of money that has simply vanished. The Securitas Depot heist remains a legendary tale in the world of true crime. It was a crime of incredible audacity and meticulous planning, but it was also a story of human terror and greed. It showed how a gang of determined criminals could pull off an impossible robbery, but also how tiny mistakes and the relentless work of law enforcement could bring them to justice. The story serves as a stark reminder that even the most elaborate plans can unravel. Colin Dixon and his family, though traumatized, thankfully survived the ordeal physically unharmed. Their nightmare became a key part of one of the most infamous crimes in modern history. Thank you so much for watching. What do you think is the most fascinating part of this story? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into true crime, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next story. See you next time.